Hey, I'm Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. I'm currently working on 3 games: Regulator City, Gauntlet of Power, Space Grunt 3. Working on multiple projects. Is that something you should be doing? Definitely not. Would I recommend anybody to do it? Probably not, but there are some things that make it interesting, and for me, why am I doing it? It just happened to get in this situation because of these projects. So let me talk about that situation, because people have been asking why am I juggling 3 projects and why and how, and we're gonna dive into that after the intro. And before we do the intro, I still have, due to the cold, I think all these weird things happening on my face. Sorry, it's not the best picture. Next time I'll hire a beautiful model to do the mimicking of my talk. But also I've been using like lip stuff for dry lips. It's shiny everywhere. Ignore the face and listen to the brain. Whoa, that's a pretty good one. All right, back to the video. Okay, first, why am I juggling 3 projects? Clearly something went wrong in my planning, pretty much. I started Regulator City, the first game I was working on, in 2021 after finishing Residual, releasing it, and then was working on this game already. And the project is just a little bit bigger than my usual games. Not so much content-wise, but more what I want to do with it was just more difficult to get it up and running. Been talking about that on this channel for many times, many videos covering that, so I'm not gonna go into that again. But it's a bigger project, so I'm taking more time for it. However, I also need to make money, and since it took longer than I expected, I needed something to make money on. So I started Gauntlet of Power, a new Heroes of Loot game. Heroes of Loot, I did 2 games in that series and they did pretty well. I saw a little opening with Vampire Survivor like, but I didn't really like it, so I twisted it a little bit more towards Binding of Isaac. 2 games that have done very well. Hopefully I get somewhere in the middle of that and still do fairly decent. So it was a shorter development cycle and I've been able to manage to keep it shorter, so that's going to be released first, just so I can make some money from it while still tinkering on Regulator City. Now, what I always do is when I'm about to wrap up a project, Gauntlet of Power is almost wrapped up, I want to get my next game already up and running, so that when you release a game, there's a certain void. There, you release it, all the stress and anxiety and all that stuff is gone at some point, eventually, and then you're in just now what mode, and you're not sure what to do, and your game might have failed, your game might have done very well. Both those situations give very different vibes, but both will probably create a certain void that you don't know what to do. So I prefer to have a next game already up and running in a prototype stage, and that's why I started Space Grunts in December a few weeks ago, just to make sure that I have my next project already in development and I can just dive into that and avoid the void, pretty much. So that's how I end up having 3 different projects at different stages of development and how I'm juggling that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the juggling part of it, because how do you manage all that? I'm still a solo game developer doing the code, design and graphics for the game and managing the sound effects for 3 games now. Yeah, even talking about it makes me tired and confused, but I have a system that seems to be working, so let's talk about that system. So the first thing to juggle is time. Spending time on each project. I try to do it like splitting days in a week, but that doesn't really work because you'll have just so little time on each project. For me, it doesn't work. And of course, everything I'm going to tell you now is how it works for me. It might not work for you. And I don't recommend you do multiple projects just to release that one and complete. Don't do as I do, but as I say. That's pretty much what this video is about. So how I do it is that I set a certain amount of beats or milestones, or how you want it to name it. I want to create this, I want to complete this, get it wrapped up, and then I can move on to the other project. So that usually is like a planning for maybe a week, 2 weeks, and then it's done. Leave that project and move to the next. Right now, in December, the holidays, I've been tinkering on Space Grunts. it's holidays for everybody. There's a different vibe and mood, and there's so many other things going on. I wouldn't be spending full weeks on work anyway, so I figured let's leave Gauntlet of Power and Regulated City on the side. Let's start Space Grunt 3 so that we have something to dive into in 2024. So for the last couple of weeks I've been tinkering on that, just getting the core up and running. That was my whole mission and goal. Turn-based, dungeon generator, enemy AI, inventory system. If that's up and running, we can really work on it and build a game on top of that. And I managed to do that in the first couple of, well, actually the first week of January. I wrapped all that stuff up. The next beat was Heroes of Loot, Gauntlet of Power, which is one game. Get it done. There were still some things missing. It's almost done. I just had to do an intro animation. I want to do some added extra values, unlockable characters and things like that. And I have to go tweak some balancing here and there. That's still an ongoing process as I'm recording this video. It's not done, but that's pretty much what I'm trying to do now in this week, next week, maybe next week as well, or maybe the week after as well. I hope to have it all wrapped up by then, and then it will be Regulated City again. And there is a problem in that game with the game design, so that's going to be my main focus. Spend 2, maybe 3 weeks on that to try and find why it's not exactly clicking and gelling and working with players, and including me. It's fun to play, but there's something missing to keep playing, and I have to figure out what that is. So that's going to be my main mission, and that's pretty much how I set up certain milestones for myself. I have to figure this out and work on that, and if that's done, I can move back to the other game. But if that's not done, we're going to stick with this project because it's required and important to get this stuff fixed. So that's how I've pretty much been juggling. It's usually stuff that can be done in 1 or 2 weeks, not more, not less. And if it requires more time, so be it. We'll schedule more time for it. The most important thing is not so much the time spent on it, but to make sure that functionality is up and running. Now that's all time-wise, but there's a little bit more to game development, and that's code structure and figuring out and knowing where you are and what you're doing. And that can also be a little bit of a struggle if you don't touch a project for 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks because you've been working on 2 other projects in between. Figuring that stuff out is also interesting. So my games are built in the same framework and the same way. All my games, I write all the code, so there are certain standards I created for myself. Certain functions and functionality in all my games will pretty much have the same name, so I can quickly find it, and it will be in the same type of class file, so I know where to find it and where to look up, and it will pretty much do about the same type of things, just a little bit different because sometimes it requires different entities in the game or different information and data. But I know where to find certain things. Even in a decade-old game, I can still manage to find stuff and functions and know where to look. So that saves a lot of time, and that also allows me, which is the beauty, to copy and paste certain things from one game to the other. It already happened a few times that I added something to either Gauntlet of Power or Regulated City, and I figured I could also put that improvement or functionality or special effects or whatever in the other game, and it would just be copy pasting and it would be up and running in no time. So the added advantage of working on multiple games means that I can actually design certain things and implement them in all my games at once. Right now I'm very into all these Lego games. Together with Aline, we're playing a lot of these games on the PlayStation. They have some interesting meta game structures, like collecting red bricks, and those will unlock certain cheat options that make it easier to play the game at a later point. I've now added that to Gauntlet of Power, that you can find certain runes, and if you unlock them you can activate them, and it will double your experience points, or it will give you a compass from the start of the game. Things like that, little tweaks and changes. You don't have to use them, but you can use them in order to complete the game or experience more of the game. That whole functionality and all the code around it is now pretty nicely packed into a certain object. I can put that object into my other games as well, and it will probably be added to Regulated City because it adds so much functionality. I want gamers to be able to complete my games, and this is a very nice way of giving that power or that ability to players that might not reach the end without these cheats. You just have to figure out how to unlock these cheats, but I will also put them on the Orangepixel website on the support page. It's spoiler, but don't look on the support page if you don't want to be spoiled. Pretty much. So functionality like that is now built into one game, easy to port to the other games. Space Grunts will probably have it as well. So having functionality like that and the option to copy and paste functions and code and even graphic assets here and there, that's very nice. Just recently now that I have Space Grunts and the characters designed, I had to do the intro animation for Gauntlet of Power. My idea originally was that the Space Grunts were coming through a portal and they were trying to catch some ooze, which is the bad thing in the whole Orangepixel universe and all my games. That whole animation needed Space Grunts characters, and I didn't want to use the old Space Grunts characters from 2015. I needed the new ones, and now I had them. Very easily added them to Gauntlet of Power. Now an intro animation, they are part of it. They link to the Space Grunts game. It's very nice to be able to do all that and combine all that, and it makes these games feel even more connected than they already are in my Orangepixel universe. So that's another positive thing of working on multiple games for me. And another positive thing about all of this is distraction. I get to work on the game for a few weeks, then I leave it, and then I'll be working on the other games for a couple of weeks. And when I get back to the original one, it will be with a little bit of a fresh eye, fresh mindset. I haven't been hammering on that stuff for a couple of weeks, just trying to iron out bugs and tweak and fix things. I got a little bit of just stepping away from the project for a little bit. Right now, Regulator City, I haven't looked at it for 4 or 5 weeks, I think. Can't wait to get back into it because it will be a new experience. I will be experiencing it almost like a new gamer, and I will actually notice certain things that are maybe not as user-friendly or confusing even to me now. I haven't touched it for a while. Why did I implement it like this? Wouldn't it be better like that? I have worked on other games now. I've played other games. I get just a couple of fresh ideas, and maybe and hopefully that will actually improve the game. And of course, I hopefully won't be distracted too much by tweaking and fine-tuning tiny things. I actually have to look at the big picture and fix the big thing. So that's one little pitfall, but I think we all have that. Even if you're working on just one game, don't focus too much on the details that nobody really cares about. First, get the big picture up and running, then you can fill in the details later. But I think that's topic for a completely different video, so we're not going there. Let's wrap up this video. Final verdict on this: I still don't recommend this for any game developer. Working on multiple games, don't do it if you can avoid it, unless you're like wrapping up one game and want to get that head start on the next game. I think that's a solid thing, but only if you are certain that the other one is wrapped up and you're not just postponing the horrible stuff you don't like to do. I know a lot of developers have that issue, like interface or polish here and there. You don't like to do that, so you rather go work on another prototype. That's the wrong mindset. Don't do that. Make sure you can wrap up a project and then you can start the next one before you release the old one. But 3 projects, it just happened to go like this for me with Regulator City. If that game wasn't as difficult to make as it turned out to be, then I wouldn't be working on 3 games either. I would now be wrapping up Gauntlet of Power, started Space Grunts, and then Gauntlet of Power in 1 or 2 weeks will be done. I would only have 1 project myself. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, but it does have its advantages, obviously. So that makes it a little bit of a catch 22, 21, catch 20, 21, 42, 43, 60. It's a nice conundrum to have. I wouldn't recommend it, but it has its advantages. And yeah, that's pretty much the end conclusion of this video, I guess. So that's it. Honestly, just go comment below, because that helps these videos get more attention and grows my channel, and then I can keep doing this. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course come hang out on the Discord. Every Thursday the video goes live, and then within the hour we see all these new members join. Don't be shy, come say hi. Just joining is a lot of fun, and the aura will tell you hi and hello and all that stuff, but everybody else is there as well. So make sure to jump on the Discord, and I'll see you next week. I had some topics from you guys, so hopefully I can come up with an interesting topic. Although we might just talk about Gauntlet of Power and do a little devlog on that one. A lot of stuff changed and updates and upgrades and interesting things. So, all right. Also, my eyes are still a little bit puffy, like they were a couple of days ago when I recorded last week's video. It's getting better, but the exaggeration of something killing my face, a little tiny exaggeration, but yeah, I'll survive. I hope. Got 3 games to finish, so I better survive. All right, bye.